The night was colder than usual, and for someone who had everything, wealth, success, power, Ethan Cross had never felt so empty. His penthouse overlooked the entire city, yet all he saw was darkness. His friends had joked earlier that evening, "Come on, man.
One last blind date before you bury yourself in work forever."
Ethan agreed, not because he believed in love, but because he wanted silence to stop echoing in his heart. He sat alone in the restaurant, a man whose wristwatch cost more than some cars, but whose eyes carried the weight of years of loneliness. His assistant had booked the reservation under a false name so no one would recognize the billionaire CEO of Cross Enterprises sitting alone in the corner booth. And then, she walked in. She wasn't like anyone he'd ever seen.
No diamonds. No designer cloth.
Just a soft pastel dress, simple shoes, and eyes that shimmered with something rare, gentleness. Her name was Liana Grace. She smiled nervously as she approached.
Are you Ethan?
He looked up, confused.
You must be mistaken.
But then he stopped. There was something familiar in her eyes.
Something warm. Something forgotten.
They sat. Ethan, who had been through dozens of meaningless dates, couldn't explain why this one felt different. She didn't try to impress him. She asked about his day, his favorite books, even his mother. No one ever asked about his mother. He lied at first.
She's fine.
But the truth was, she wasn't. His mother had passed away 2 years ago, and he hadn't visited her grave once. Liana lowered her gaze and whispered, "Sometimes it's hard to say goodbye when you never really got to say it." Her words pierced him. "How did you know?" he asked softly. She smiled. "I didn't. I just know what regret feels like." They talked for hours. He noticed how her hands were slightly bruised, as if from hard work. She didn't order expensive food, just tea. She never asked about his company, his cars, or his money. Only his here. When the bill came, she hesitated, fumbling with her worn-out purse. Ethan chuckled lightly. "Don't worry, I've got it." But she insisted. "No, please. I want to pay for mine. It's not right otherwise." That simple act, of fairness, of dignity, moved him. He had met models, influencers, women who wanted fame or fortune. But this girl, she wanted nothing. As she stood to leave, she turned and said softly, "You don't remember me, do you?" Ethan froze. Her voice trembled, but her smile remained. "Years ago, outside a hospital, you dropped your wallet. You were crying. You didn't see me, but I gave it to the nurse so she could return it to you." His heart stopped. That night, his mother had been dying. He remembered dropping the wallet when the doctor told him there was no hope. A stranger had returned it the next morning, but he'd never known who. It was her. Liana looked at him one last time. "I never thought we'd meet again. I just wanted to see how you were doing." And then she left. Ethan sat there, stunned, the teacup trembling in his hands. The girl who once showed him silent kindness had returned into his life, only to disappear again. But this time, he wasn't going to let her fade away. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. The memory of her words haunted him. "You don't remember me, do you?" He asked his assistant to find everything about Liana Grace. But all she found was heartbreaking. She worked 2 jobs, one as a cleaner in a hospital, another as a part-time librarian. Her mother had passed away from illness a year ago. She lived in a small apartment on the city's edge, often skipping meals to pay rent. Ethan sat in silence, staring at her picture on the report. This was the woman who had once returned his wallet, without leaving her name. The woman who had worked tirelessly while comforting others. The woman who had treated him like a person, not a billionaire. He didn't want to pity her. He wanted to help her. But not in the way rich men help. He wanted to give her the life she deserved, without her losing her pride. The next morning, Liana returned to the cafe where she worked. Her hands ached, but her heart was light. She still thought about Ethan, the lonely man who smiled but carried hidden pain. She never expected to see him again. Until he walked in. He didn't come in a suit this time. No driver. No aura of power. Just jeans, a plain shirt, and eyes that held warmth instead of distance. "May I sit?" he asked. She nodded shyly. "I wanted to say thank you," he said. "For what?" For everything you did for me. Back then. And now. She smiled softly. You don't owe me anything, Ethan. He looked down. Maybe I don't. But I want to. He then told her what he remembered, the night at the hospital, the broken man she unknowingly comforted, the wallet she returned, the silent kindness that changed him. Tears filled her eyes. You remembered. He nodded. And I don't forget kindness. Ever. That day, Ethan didn't offer her money or gifts. Instead, he offered her a position at his foundation, a new project he was launching to help struggling women and single mothers. She hesitated. I'm not qualified for that. He smiled gently. You are more qualified than anyone I know. You understand what it means to give without expecting anything in return. Weeks passed. Liana joined his team. The two worked side by side, building something beautiful out of kindness and compassion. And somewhere along the way, without meaning to, they began healing each other's hearts. Ethan no longer lived in silence. Liana no longer lived in struggle. They found peace in giving, and love in gratitude. One evening, as the sun set, Ethan turned to her and said, You know, that night I thought it was just another blind date. She smiled, eyes glistening. And now? He reached out his hand. Now it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Dizzy call to action, for your faceless channel. Sometimes, one small act of kindness can return years later, changed, stronger, and wrapped in love. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because somewhere, someone might need this reminder. No act of kindness ever goes unnoticed. Broken heart sparkles.